Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to This Week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap the 2019 IBJJF Heavyweight GP, talk a little bit about the Ace Submission Grappling, recap Episode 2 of the Shugyo Invitational. We're going to preview Fight to Win 123, Polaris 11, and talk a little about this Fuji Superfight. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined with my co-host,
Emil.
How you doing, Emil?
I'm doing great, man. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Awesome.
You came to my house very, very salty today.
Yeah.
As we're going to cover the IBJJF GP, so we're going to get into that in a little bit.
Well, this is the second time coming to your house this week, and we'll get into that a little bit.
Oh, yeah, we actually watched that live. So let's talk about a little news first. Big news. Garry Tonon has announced he's going to try to get back into grappling.
That's huge.
And GrappleFest sent him an invite for an opponent offer. I assume every promotion in the world also did the same thing, but GrappleFest puts on some fun-ass matchups. They've had Greg Jones. They've had a bunch of other guys that we like covering. So I am amped to see who, A, if he accepts the offer, and then B, if we can see him potentially grapple again, because he's out of ADCC, but that dude brings the fire.
Dude, he absolutely... I love how game he is. You know, like doing things like, you know, taking Polaris to town,
dude,
in one of the most exciting matches that I've seen. You know,
we're talking about Polaris this week, actually.
Yeah,
so that's exciting. Dude, him and his Wagner matches, like, dude, all his matches, like, there's never a Garry Tonon match that you saw that was like, no, it's kind of boring. Like,
no,
or at least not that I remember offhand. He has enough.
Puts it on the line.
Yeah, dude, his flying airplane defense to Wagner at ADCC when Wagner's trying to take the bag, he just runs around like with his hands out, and it's, oh, we have video now, so you can actually see what I'm doing. So for the video, so that's exciting. For this week on the video podcast, we actually move things around so it actually is not oriented in a dumbass way.
Yeah. So
you're not looking at the back of our head the entire time. I was like, why don't I put the screen we're looking at in front of the camera, so at least we're looking towards the camera now, and not away. Oh, other production side stuff for the show. Footlock Fire, guy on Instagram who's an audio engineer who runs a fucking hilarious page, basically was like, hey, your audio is super quiet on your show. And I was like, yeah, we've got complaints about this for about like 2 years now. And he goes, if you do X, Y, and Z, it will fix that. And I went, oh, snap. So last week was the first time I've actually been able to fix the audio.
Sweet.
And it was way better. And I was like, oh, so shout out to him. Really appreciate the input on the technical side. He sent me like a video, like exactly how to do it. And hopefully this podcast is now significantly louder. So it's, you know, turn your volume all the way up to actually hear it. So big shouts to him. Thank you very much for fixing a production problem that I've had for the past literally 2 years.
But yeah, we're excited to see Garry Tonon return to the mats. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. In other big, again, so much non-grappling news. Damien Maia versus Ben Askren has been booked for October 26th.
I mean, we're likely to see grappling in that match. So
I would hope. If he turns into K1 Maia, I will be pissed. I want to see, honestly, that's a really exciting matchup because Damien Maia gets to dudes' backs, and Ben Askren is a fantastic wrestler, but he has struggled a little bit against submission specialists. We saw him in ADCC struggle a little bit versus Pablo Popovich back in 2009, I think.
I think I brought this up before, but there's a hilarious video on YouTube of, I think it was Marcelo and Kron, and they were at it, and in the background you hear like Pablo Popovich and Ben Askren's name get called up.
Oh, yeah,
like
ADCC.
30 seconds later, they're like, Pablo Popovich is the winner.
Pablo Popovich. Yeah. I thought you were about the Marcelo match with Ben Askren, if you haven't watched it, where he chokes him behind his back in something called a bonanza choke.
Oh, and when he visits his school?
Yeah, when Ben Askren visits his school. And again, old school
The ADCC video is hilarious.
Yeah, that is great. So, in other news, Yuri Simões was out. He had an arm injury. He's out of Kasai and the IBJJF Heavyweight Grand Prix, but he is still in ADCC, though. So he's not pulled out.
That makes me nervous, but hey, you know, hopefully he's fully healed and ready to go. I want to see him at 100%.
Yeah, there's been another round of like ADCC changes. We'll talk about it probably the week of ADCC, either the weigh-in show that we're doing on Friday night of ADCC. So we're doing shows for ADCC Friday night after weigh-ins, Saturday after day one, and Sunday after day two. And hopefully getting on some. Emil and I are going to be there live at ADCC. I got press credentialed. I'm also doing backstage interviews officially for the ADCC 2019 Instagram page and Grappling Rewind, so that'll be super exciting. Tune into those. Also, a bunch of stuff's going to be on our YouTube page, but we're going to do shows. We'll probably recap like the brackets again, either on that show or on the week before. I'm still not certain like how many guests we're going to have on, like exactly what is going to happen for ADCC. We're still kind of in the planning stages of that. We're also going to get lunch with a bunch of people that are listening to the show. That Friday afternoon for lunchtime that day too. So that does it. Let's see. Oh yeah, other news. So Henzo and his brother Half are still dealing with that like assault that Half did at IBJJF Worlds versus Flavio Almeida. And
Renzo was not there. And
not Renzo, sorry. Renzo has flown his lawyer out to assist Half in that legal case, and that basically looks like it's going to get finalized October 15th when Half's going to be present there in the courtroom. There's a bunch of stuff happening this week on it. It's still going on in case you forgot about it.
Yeah.
Anything else to do on that?
Mm-mm.
All right, so let's see what else. All right, we have a YouTube page, and we post a lot of cool new stuff there. We're going to add more content to the YouTube page. This podcast comes out on the YouTube now in video format, so if you listen to the audio and you want to see what we look like when we're talking about and yelling about matches, check us out there. And oh yeah, by the way, subscribe to that and subscribe on any service used for podcasting. It is super helpful, and share it with your friends. I never really say it at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
It is the most helpful thing you can do is if you share it with your friend or share a link to someone that you know that may listen to our show. That is the literally best organic way that we grow the show.
Or give us a review too. That helps as well.
A little bit.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of chart stuff happening right now, so reviews don't help as much, but I appreciate the reviews. So let's see. Oh, another news. Daniel Strauss lifted the Dinnie Stones in Scotland. He's been talking about that. We've been following that for a while now. He's been talking about it for probably, I've heard him for a couple of years now, and then he finally did it like today. Today is Monday, August 26th. So he posted that this morning. He's like, I did it. And so big props to him. It's a really cool story if you've been following that kind of progression for Daniel Strauss. Anything else in news, Emil?
That's it.
All right, let's go to the next segment. So moving on to our recap of the 2019 IBJJF Heavyweight Grand Prix. A lot of different grapplers on this event. A lot of dropouts and change-ups. So the final lineup we got, honestly, was still pretty great.
It was excellent lineup. Yeah, absolutely. It should have been a marquee card, Absolutely.
I mean, it still was a marquee. I think it was a marquee card. I think it was kind of marred by some of the. We're getting to the bitching about the event at the end.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we have some significant
gripes yeah.
with how it was run and some other stuff. So let's talk about the opening round matchup. Do you want to start with the opening round or start with a different round?
Yeah.
All right. So the opening round matchup: Joao Gabriel defeating Patrick Gaudio via decision. Take it away, Emil.
Yeah, I mean, what we see a lot this is true of Nogi in general, but I feel like especially in the IBJJF rule set, we see a lot of this feeling out period. When you have 10 minutes, there's a lot of this sort of collar tie slapping exchanges.
Yeah. I think we talk about it
fighting
really frequently in rule set. Like whenever you have a 10-minute match versus a 6-minute match, the first minimum, for the most part, 2 minutes of a matchup, especially for heavyweight guys, are like a feeling out process.
That's right.
You're touching, you're feeling, you're booming, you're collar tying, you're breaking, you're going. Maybe you're touching a leg, but really, we don't see any demonstrable offense put up by usually unless someone pulls.
Maybe setting some feints up, trying to get them to react a little bit, something. But you almost never see serious shots within the first minute or two, and usually that's what we saw.
Yeah, we saw pushing back and forth. Joao's definitely more aggressive on the feet, going for takedowns and some reversals. They both have penalties at this point. I think I was talking about this when I had my notes here. I think IBJJF for these sort of events, especially for heavyweight black belts, needs a bigger mat area. Because guys get pushed. This is the problem in this match. This is the problem in other matches. This is the problem in the semifinals matches. Guys get pushed out all the time, and they circle. They need a mat area. They need where the yellow is on the mat. They need a warning zone.
Yeah.
And they need a circle, like the wrestling does. There's a circle, and they need a place to get guys to move back in. It's actually a defined place on the mat. That stop pushing a guy in this direction unless you're actively going for something. You need to circle back in so that there's not constant resets, weird penalties of a guy was fleeing, guy was off the mat. I don't think. For events like this, for professional events where there's 40 grand on the line for the winner and 10 grand on the line for not the loser, you need more space for the guys to work or a defined area for them to come back in to begin working, and then you need an out of bounds area.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think going from inbounds to out of bounds when the yellow is there's nothing to contain them when they're sort of getting close to out of bounds. You go from inbounds to out of bounds, and there's all of this weirdness happens there.
It happens really quickly. I agree.
Yeah. So Gaudio, nice body lock, takedown, finishes out of bounds. It goes to decision, and based on the first 2/3 of the match, Joao was more active and gets the decision over Gaudio.
A Darce attempt at one point, and
kind of. I wouldn't really say an attempt. He got his hands there in kind of a position.
Right.
So next match, Vinicius Ferreira defeating Luiz Panza via one advantage.
Yep, no points scored. So I mean, it's at this point, it's it's pulling into an armbar, from an armbar into a guard.
Kind of goes for like a fall down armbar,
yeah,
kind of, but it's really a pull.
It's a pull,
it's
yeah.
a pull.
And we see 50-50 at some point, and it's a lot of tentative, kind of like
this entire match was Ferreira trying to pass Panza's guard from the over-under with the leg on the shoulder, and then maybe from a double under.
So this.
That was the match. That was the whole match. 10-minute match.
This brings up something that I'm a little frustrated with, because there are matches where people are on both knees attempting an over-under pass without any kind of setup and any kind of speed or, any kind of explosiveness at the black belt level. I can't think of times when that has succeeded. It does not work against a competitive black belt. No. Like, when we see people passing, it's like feinting one way or another, chaining.
It's Toriandos, it's standing passes. Like, there has to be an instance where it's worked, where it's like a guy's on the knees or like from the over-under
I'm sure
position.
It has happened,
but it's like...
I can't think of it.
No, I can't think of it, where it's like the guy doesn't... That sort of passing, the sort of passing that Vinicius was doing here is... He's looking for Panza to make a mistake.
Right.
And that's the only way he gets past is Panza makes a mistake.
And also, I think, to kill time as well.
And it kills a lot of time.
Yeah.
But he's active enough to not get penalties. But this is a rough match to watch.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't have a better way to put this. This was not an action-packed match.
This is where penalties should have been flowing.
You need more aggressive penalties. I think if a guy is sitting and he's doing enough to not be racking them up, but it's this is rough to watch.
Yeah.
This is jiu-jitsu that does not get me hype to cover jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It wasn't bad jiu-jitsu. I don't believe both these guys are top-level black belts. I don't want to say it's bad jiu-jitsu. It is not exciting to watch jiu-jitsu. And those are two different things.
Right.
And so I want to highlight that I want to make sure that I'm not shitting on guys at the top level. It's not bad jiu-jitsu. It's good. It's exactly what you need to do to win at this level. But you need to have a rule set that facilitates action, because this was a rough match.
Yeah, because we had a tremendous lineup.
Yeah.
And I understand when you're a competitor, you need to do what you need to do in order to win. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's the important thing, especially when 40K is on the line.
40 grand. That's equivalent to winning the absolute in ADCC.
Right.
The most prestigious of prestigious shit in grappling. That's how much money was on the line.
So it's don't hate the player, hate the game. And the game is
I couldn't take you seriously as I look at you.
I'm just saying,
no, you're not wrong.
You can't blame the competitors.
No. You can't never get...
You gotta just...
Never blame a competitor for playing a rule set.
Right.
Ever.
You just gotta look at the rule set and be like, what are we getting out of this? But anyway,
so
that's enough
Vinicius
of that.
Ferreira takes it via one advantage. I actually forget how he got the advantage. It might have been on the knee bar. No, I forget what he
I think pass attempt. Yeah,
probably pass attempt. So next match we got Lucas the Hulk Barbosa versus Tim Spriggs. This is probably one of the best matches of the tournament, from an excitement perspective.
Oh yeah, because we see Barbosa just go completely ham. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I came over for this event, so Maine and I were on the couch watching this live. And
which I think we've only ever watched jiu-jitsu together, not before the show or in text, actually sat on your couch or my couch. I think one other time, I think we watched King of Mats, the lightweights, and it was the same day that one of the Grapple Fests was going. Was it ACBJJ or was it King of Mats?
Yeah, I remember it was a back-to-back thing.
Yeah, we watched, and we had two screens up. I had one screen up on my laptop, and you had something else up, and we were watching two events at the same time. And it was a Grapple Fest and something else.
So we were watching this with a couple beers, and I remember being this is going to be interesting because Hulk obviously has been stepping up his stand-up game a lot, and Tim Spriggs and all the TLI guys have a pretty substantial stand-up game.
Yeah, they're threatening, especially Nogi. They're threatening in the stand. in the gi too. Yeah. They're threatening in the stand-up.
Right.
And so that's why I was like, ooh, this matchup could be really good. And then Barbosa just comes out and looks good, gets the takedown, and then they sit in guard for 4+ minutes of Barbosa in Tim Spriggs' closed guard.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, they're going to do something. What's happening? They're moving. And then all of a sudden, Spriggs...
Hulk goes Hulk, man.
Well, Spriggs opens the guard.
Yeah.
And I was like, and Hulk starts passing and gets around. I was like, oh, okay. this makes a lot of sense. And it's like, but this is also why you don't see guys open the guard up, because at the high level, like in that no-gi, if you're in the closed guard with an aggressive passer like Hulk, it's like, well, what are you going to do? So you're going to try to tack up?
Yeah, no.
And so he opens the guard, and Hulk passes and looks good, goes to like north-south,
it's
comes
all
around.
over from there. It just
eventually he finishes
downhill.
in mount, and he finishes up 12-0.
Yeah.
And it's like a really impressive performance from Hulk. I'm actually super excited to see, like, he looks this good in no-gi. Spriggs is also in no-gi. Yeah, Spriggs is also in ADCC. You know, this is a really telling match that Barbosa can push a pace and really like execute against a top of a no-gi guy.
Yeah,
in Spriggs.
Just a little bit of margin in there, and he will take it like all the way.
It was really impressive. Like literally open. Like Spriggs didn't do anything wrong. He just literally opened the guard, and that was enough for Barbosa to like. And he doesn't pass on his knees. He stands up to pass and get around the legs.
I want to talk about the size difference here a little bit, because we were seeing it, and there was a number of these matchups where there's a substantial size difference.
Any matchup with Joao.
Yeah. The format is interesting for this because, like, it seems like more or less open, but they invited,
They invited guys that skewed on the heavier side, but it's definitely like an open weight bracket.
So there's substantial size difference as well.
Yeah. You thought Barbosa was much bigger?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what weight class he's in, actually. I should actually have a list of know what weight class guys sit in, but I don't remember actually right now.
Yeah.
We've had so much shift recently that I always forget, like, because Barbosa, I think, was down a weight class recently, and Spriggs, I think, went up a weight class and moved. Like, there's been some shifting between these two guys, I think, in the last, like, probably year.
So maybe they were closer in weight than I thought, but
Hulk looked bigger here.
He looked bigger, and I think of him as competing at a higher weight class.
Yeah. And Spriggs is also, like, a longer guy, like, in a little, not, like, thinner, but, like, he's definitely, like, Hulk looked hulky and thicker here, and Spriggs looked like lankier, but like still looked big as well. But I think Hulk is bigger here.
So Hulk takes it away, 12-0.
Yeah. Next matchup, we had Cyborg defeating Victor Hugo via 4 advantages. Victor pulled here, and even the commentary addressed, like, towards the end of the match, like, man, that might have not been the right idea.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the commentary there. It just seemed like, particularly the way that the pull was done, it was like pulling almost Cyborg into a pass. Like, he was kind of launching immediately into a knee cut, and like
Cyborg was just really active. He forces back exposure from Hugo, I think, like twice. He gets like multiple advantages for like near passes, and I think he gets 2 for near passes.
So Cyborg gets past the guard but doesn't settle. So it's pretty damn close. Like, it's like maybe
Hugo gets his knee back in.
Yeah. Like, Hugo has a regard, basically.
Okay.
Like, it's pretty damn close to a pass. Like, I definitely worth advantages, and depending on the ref, might have even been worth points at some point. It was just like right on the line.
I was happy with the advantage scoring. I thought it was more reasonable. I think points would have been a little bit like, it's a little tight for points. But like we get into last week, where it's like, what really is the back mount with points?
Right.
I thought it was good. Like, Cyborg, honestly, I was actually super impressed. Cyborg wins this whole event, but I was super impressed with how Cyborg looked here.
Yeah.
Like, he looked like good. He gamed it well. He
against
was progressive.
young new black belt. Like, Maine and I during this match were like very tuned in as this being one of the more interesting matches of the first matches, because we wanted to see what happened here, because Cyborg has been around forever.
Cyborg's definitely on the older side, and like we addressed that, and we talked about it last week. Like, we were, by the way, last week we were fucking wrong. We were wrong as shit. I was like, Cyborg's probably not gonna take this. All the guys were like, probably not Cyborg, and then he wins. You're like, well, we don't know anything apparently.
Well, yeah.
I think our analysis was reasonable, but like Cyborg, like, in this whole event showed like he had that extra gear still that he can still go to, and he looked fucking good here.
Yeah.
Like, repeatedly didn't get scored on, repeatedly almost passing, giving back exposure to Hugo, like he was in the leg weave a bunch, like,
yeah, absolutely
dominant.
Surprised me. I was definitely wrong about that. But yeah, it was a great match in that regard. And it was great to see exactly what his tank was, and we saw that in this match.
Onto the semifinals. Was this where the break was, or was it? Yeah, no. This
was the first break.
So if you watch this event live, I'm sorry for you, because it was paced really funny. So we watched these matches like, oh cool, this is moving along well, this is awesome. And then they're like, okay, we're gonna go to a break.
They didn't say how long it was gonna be, and then the commentators just left the booth.
No, didn't left. they cut the audio on the broadcast.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay.
So we didn't know how long we were going to have to sit there and
is
watch.
Is it like a 5-minute break? Are we giving time to recover? Or are we going to what are we doing?
So then the camera pans and
No, it doesn't pan. The camera goes to a security camera shot of the gymnasium on the side. And and sits for 2 minutes. And I was like, so now we're looking at security cam feed. Or it was like a event camera.
Right.
Of a half empty bleachers and a matted area.
Yep.
And silence. Not like ambient audio, no audio.
Right.
And I was
completely dead audio.
Okay.
And then they switched over to a different camera focused on the mats, and
we were getting that camera's audio with no commentary. Yeah.
So we got whoever was announcing in the PA in all distorted.
Yeah, you got ambient noise from the camera that you were looking at.
Right.
So it was of the far back pulled back camera that was looking at the mat.
Right.
And you were getting audio from that camera.
There was an announcer who was speaking on the PA in the auditorium.
Yeah.
That you heard all muffled, could barely.
I couldn't hear. I think after 15 people walked out or something like that, I heard Masters. I was like, okay, so we're announcing something for the Masters.
So they kept bringing people out and handing them these certificates, which again we couldn't read from.
I read names. I read I was like, oh, these guys are high level black belts. Okay.
Yeah, but none of the titles or anything were visible.
They walked at the women first.
Yep.
And they walked at the men.
Yep.
And then I still this finished. So this was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Of this
20
ceremony.
minutes of just us being completely confused as to
and
what
I'm
was going on.
I don't know what this is. And then never gets addressed.
Was this when you were texting Ryan Stark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one I was texting Stark yo, it's time work. Ryan was at this event.
Right. So
and I was like, yo, what's happening?
Ryan had competed in Masters Worlds, and so we were trying to figure out what the fuck was happening, because we're sitting here trying to have a beer, watch this event, and none of this has been explained. Nothing at all.
I'm
so we didn't know how long we were going to be. So thankfully it wraps up at 20 minutes, and then
no, not thankfully, 20 minutes, man. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
Be wondering.
Yeah. Well, we'll see that pales in comparison to the other break, but yeah, it wraps up 20 minutes later with no one saying hey, this is a ceremony that's going to take 20 minutes or whatever. No information at all.
Even commentated. You're gonna have. It was just play B-roll. Replay the matches we just watched.
Yeah.
With intermission, something.
Something.
That was strange.
Yep.
So we'll bitch later about the next thing that happens. But it was one of the semifinal matchups. We have Joao Gabriel defeating Vinicius Ferreira via 5 advantages.
Yeah. You want to take this one away, Maine?
Not really. Ferreira pulls and Rocha almost gets around the guard. Almost gets to the back in the first 30 seconds of the match. I think this was one of the fastest opening sequences we had of the entire tournament. I was like, oh shit. And I want to see a big fan of Joao. He moves Buchecha for a Buchecha size guy, which is why he gives Buchecha so many problems.
Right.
Honestly, he was the guy that I thought was the front runner to take this entire event. So when he came out super hard, super aggressive, and quick, I was like,
here
okay,
it is.
This makes sense. This is why he's in the semifinals. Vinicius looked okay the last match, and Joao was on the last match. I feel this was in my head with my narrative that I had crafted at this point. Was okay, this makes a lot of sense. This looks good. And then he just kind of just runs away with it. Really similar, pressure passing, leg weave, gets over. He gets the back twice, but doesn't have hooks either time.
Yep.
And he just he's just going. He goes to the quarter guard, almost gets to the mount, but doesn't get the full hooks. He gets no points, but he gets in 4 different scoring positions where he's 1 hook away or a half hook away or just a little position. Looks really dominant.
Yep.
Looks really good, and wins by 5 advantages.
Yep. Exactly.
It was good. Next match we had Roberto Cyborg Abreu defeating Lucas Barbosa 4-4. So 4 points each, and then 2 penalties for Barbosa. So Cyborg gets the win on penalties for Barbosa. And these penalties were a little funny. Don't talk about the scoring sequences first, because Emil had some choice words about this. So don't be too disparaging when you describe it.
No. It's not disparaging. It's just so. I remember Stark had said something he was yeah, well, we were sold a Grand Prix in Jiu-Jitsu and we got some above average wrestling. But if we were to talk about it from a wrestling standpoint,
man, You can't do that to jiu-jitsu.
I get it.
Different
but
sports.
They're different sports.
Yo, man, his gi takedowns are terrible. It's like, well, yeah, because he's not doing judo. Like, it's jiu-jitsu. You got to have a different stance. But, like, we see Hulk, and you pointed out here.
Well, my point is that this was all takedown. So,
yeah,
it was like a wrestling match without the, like, pacing of wrestling. So
right. I was watching a jiu-jitsu wrestling match, which is, like, honestly, the action wasn't bad in the match. There was some funny calls, but so Emil, we were watching this match before we recorded here, and we were watching this match, and Emil freeze framed the first moment that Hulk gets a single leg on Cyborg.
Right. So Hulk gets a single leg. He gets a very good grip on it. He basically, like, he has his knees bent a little bit, but it's mostly bending from the hips. And the thing that was, I think, particularly driving me crazy, and I feel a little bit saner having heard Drysdale kind of like weigh in on this as well. But Cyborg was not sprawling. And that kind of drove me. I was just, He
sprawled in other matches, though. He sprawled later in this match.
Exactly.
Like, he can do it. It wasn't like an issue. He had like some injury. He was like, at the beginning of the match, there was the first 2 takedowns that Hulk hits. He just bends over. I'm going to say bend towards him. He just bends over and just grabs Cyborg's leg.
Right.
And, like, he hits a really nice, the first one he hits like an outside, like, leg trip on the post leg.
He hits the back of the calf with his foot for the takedown. It was a nice takedown. The second one, he goes for almost like a knee pick.
Yeah, he knee picks the other leg again. It looked really good.
Great finishes.
The third time he picks it up, Cyborg, like, starts to address it in a way that doesn't get him taken down again. Right. But it was like 3 times in a row, Hulk just shoots doesn't even shoot, just bends over and grabs Cyborg's leg.
Exactly.
And it was like a weird, like, again, this is where I wish that I was higher level and understood more of, like, the metagame there. Because, like, I know Cyborg is really good. And
right.
he was doing something here, and I'm disappointed in myself as an analyst to figure out, like, I can't figure out what he was looking for here to, like,
maybe he was looking for, like, a submission counter or something. I'm not sure.
But he wasn't, like, basking over for the arm. He just was, like, it was weird. Like, he wasn't, like, for what he did, I didn't know what he was doing because he wasn't doing the stuff that I would have expected him to do if he was going to defend in the way I thought he was going to defend.
So what he does do, which is awesome, is he Cyborg responds by kicking it up, like, fucking
he clicks that
into the higher next gear.
Because going into the match, I was like, yo, okay, so Hulk's going to take this like he took it versus Spriggs. He's just going to, like, take down. And then Cyborg goes, oh, shit, I'm down 4-0 with no ads, no penalties. Time to kick it up a notch.
Right. So it could be that he was just, like, really confident, and clearly it panned out for him. But Cyborg absolutely goes ham. He basically shoots in for a really hard single, and he starts bowling Hulk over, which is not easy to do.
This is the match I was like, yo, like, I didn't talk shit last week about Cyborg, but I was like, he's still kind of got it. Like,
yeah.
You saw he's quick.
He started to throw him, and
I forgot how quick he was.
I thankfully Bane broke down kind of like what the reasoning was behind this. Maine.
Okay.
Why? So basically, Cyborg pushes him on this takedown attempt, pushes Hulk all the way out of the mat, and initially, the ref brings him back in, gives a penalty to Hulk, and gives 2 points to Cyborg, and I was just baffled.
I was upset. You weren't baffled. You were upset. And I was like, what's that? And I was like, okay. And so actually, I was really happy because of the commentary, Drysdale and Tyler Bishop were on commentary and explained, okay, so because of the way that Hulk went out of bounds, because he turned his chest completely out and he went towards the edge of the mat in that orientation.
So it looked almost like a running man escape,
Which is a completely reasonable escape to do there, but he kind of turns a little bit, like, 15 degrees extra, and he basically parallels his chest with the mat to do that.
And I mean, he's getting, like, Cyborg is coming with a lot of velocity.
Oh yeah.
Like, they're basically being, like, they're flying towards the end of the mat. So it's not like he turned and then ran off the mat.
And so I usually have a problem with these sort of things, but with the commentary explaining it, and then if you look at how the rules are actually written, and it's like, specifically, if this occurs per the rule set, if the way it's written, it's a penalty. And I was like, okay, it's a penalty, I guess.
So now it's
4-2.
4 points for Hulk with 1 penalty and 2 points.
2 points. Oh, because Cyborg, if you get the penalty for the fleeing, they get the points.
Right.
So it's 2. So we're playing a 2-point game, but Hulk has some penalties here.
That's right.
So now it's like we got time left in the mat, and Cyborg's like,
plenty of time
I
left.
got to get a takedown, that's it, and I'll win?
Yeah. So Cyborg absolutely just, again, goes, like, you can see him just...
This was one of the highlights of the event for me.
So he's able to spin around to Hulk's back off of a scramble, and they're both standing, and Cyborg proceeds to lift Hulk up and slam him back down on the mat repeatedly.
It was like twice.
I think it was at least 3 times. And the only thing that was saving Hulk while he has a very angry Cyborg on his back was that he was popping his knees off. Mm-hmm. It was almost like a WWF, like old school, like, you know, like they're getting close to the tap out. And then the guy like snaps out at the last second. Like that's what it felt like.
Kick out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like it would be like you'd get like a 2-second count, and then Hulk would be able to like pop back up again, and then Cyborg would throw him back down to the mat, and then he'd like pop up again.
Yes.
It's like
those wrestling things you're talking about, Emil. I too understand them very well.
I'm just saying. But
but it was like, but Hulk was doing a great job here looking at the rule set and like, look, if he's not on his knees, doesn't count as a takedown.
Yeah.
So he was staying up, he was tripoded up, and he's making Cyborg continue to try to like shuck him forward and lift him up, and Cyborg was like doing everything he could to get him to the mat to get those 2 points.
This, I think, I wonder if Cyborg did this deliberately now, but like they ended up going towards the edge of the mat and then off the mat a little bit. But because it was in the middle of a takedown, the ref didn't want to like, you know, reset or anything. And basically Hulk has his hands on the mat, like almost like doing like a yoga position or whatever. And
you know all the judo names, don't know any of the yoga positions. Emil.
I have no idea.
Doing a yoga position, Emil.
He's basically ready to do a Granby roll in order to get out.
Yeah.
And
he drops.
He does.
He drops.
He ends up doing
roll.
a Granby roll. He gets out, and the ref gives him a penalty and gives 2 more points to Cyborg. And this is where I was
This is where I had a little... The first penalty, I didn't have a problem with. The second penalty, I was like, man, that's kind of on the line.
What are you supposed to do? Like, I guess you have to try to drag him back inbounds.
And this is why I want a bigger matted area.
Yeah.
Because these guys... these guys aren't... They're not... And these guys... This did not look like a match where the guys were fighting on the edges.
Right.
Like, it looked like you had 2 guys that were like, wherever I can get the grip, I'm going to get it there. And that's happened to be where Cyborg got the grip. And, like, they're close to the edge of the mat. And Barbosa's defending, and he's not particularly, like, pushing himself out. It didn't look like he was doing anything to escape. And then you're on the edge, and he's like, look, if I get pulled out, it's 2, so... I'm going to try to roll through and potentially go for a leg or come up or do something else to escape in a Granby roll, which is a completely legitimate defense from that back take grip that Cyborg has.
In fact, we were just talking about Garry Tonon's rolls.
Yeah, literally. This is the thing that Garry Tonon does all the fucking time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's in wrestling. Is that the funk roll? I can't remember.
I don't know. He does their Polaris.
Yeah,
Versus Wagner versus Polaris. Like, like this is something we see him do all the time from this position. Somebody's trying to take his back and running behind him, and Hulk does it here on the edge of the mat. Gets out and gets the penalty.
Gets the penalty for it.
And so Cyborg gets the 2, and then the Cyborg basically has another minute and a half, something like that, to like stuff.
More than that. I think like 3 minutes. There was a lot of time.
It was less than I thought.
It was 3 minutes. Yeah, it was a lot. I remember being salty about this, and then just being like, honestly, like Hulk had some time to try to like get 2 points.
I thought for some reason in my head I have that as him having less time, but
no, he had a substantial amount of time.
Let's not go on me in memory because that's not so bueno.
Right.
So Cyborg gets the win here and looked honestly super exciting, like highlight reel of the moment.
But like definitely he looked good no matter what.
Yeah, I had to have to eat my words here for how I thought Cyborg would look.
Yeah.
Dude looked good, and versus Hulk, like competitive.
Yep.
Like he has 2 weird, in my head, game planning things at the beginning where he like kind of seems to allow like a single leg with less resistance than I would expect, but after that
maybe
turns
it's just confidence, you know,
and gets it done.
Yeah.
So then we have the break. So we finished it. So we watched this and it's like, okay, cool. And then it's like we will zoom at 4 p.m. Pacific's time. And I went...
That's 2 hours.
Wait, what?
2 hours.
So we had our semifinals match. So now we know we have Joao Gabriel Rocha versus Roberto Cyborg Abreu. I almost made his name Portuguese there for a minute. And I was like, okay, haha. wait, am I supposed to like stay here or like am I tuned in or like and Drysdale and Tyler Bishop talked for a little bit on the camera on like, and they were like talking, and I was like, okay, we're doing like a pre-show, we're gonna do like something else, and I was like, then we kind of cut to like a masters mat and there was no audio, and then the broadcast cut out, and it was like, what?
I can't wrap my head around why this would be scheduled this way. And
do you want to talk about the match first and then talk about this? Because the match is relatively
we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about this weird thing. But so the match was
Fast forward
Cyborg
2
versus
hours.
Joao Gabriel.
I had to leave.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would not expect you to stay at my house for 2 hours and shoot the shit when you're gonna be at my house for like 4 hours on Monday afternoon recording the show anyway.
Right.
You had things to do on a Saturday, Emil.
Right.
But I thought it was gonna be a quick event, and then all of a sudden, like, they had this 2 hour break, which, by the way, I didn't know about beforehand.
Yeah, no, there's no explanation for either of the intermissions. Like,
so this was about 9 minutes of pushing back and forth.
Yep.
Joao Gabriel goes for like a Darce throw. It was like kind of like a headlock.
yeah, it was like a head and
throw.
arm throw, and it was in the last like 90 seconds. It was clear like
Somebody's got to do something.
It
honestly wasn't a bad throw either.
They each had a penalty, like really going like 8 minutes and 30 seconds into the match, and just from standing. And so I think Joao Gabriel was just trying to make something work. He got a head and arm grip and kind of tried to do almost like an alligator roll.
Yeah. Where
And
he just drops underneath Cyborg and like throws him over.
He wasn't able to get Cyborg to roll over enough, so he kind of just drops to his hips, and it was just...
And Cyborg turns on the next
Cyborg
gear
just,
and
like,
tries to pass, and like does enough and gets the decision. Never passes, but he gets to like an almost kind of, doesn't get an ad, just does enough there in that one. I think in that one sequence right there that was kind of the most action of the match.
Yep.
Gets the 40 grand.
Yep.
Is your champion, is your IBJJF Heavyweight GP champion.
Yep.
Joao Gabriel Rocha takes home 10 grand.
As the runner-up, yeah.
Huge payout. Happy to see guys getting paid out, but man, this rule set and this event was...
I just don't know what were they trying to deliver? What was the product? You know, like, what are you trying to get out there? Like, it certainly wasn't for the streaming people, because...
No.
I
talked about it might be for the live audience.
Maybe, yeah. It must have been, clearly. That's the only thing I can think about. Because as a streaming product, you know, as someone wanting to tune into, you know, what started off as, you know, one of the greatest lineups of the year outside of maybe ADCC only. I can't think of.
Dude, this got announced in January. The lineup was insane. It had Gordon Ryan, had Yuri Smoes, had Buchecha in it.
Yep.
Had like Muhammad Ali in it as well.
Yeah.
So half your event dropped.
Oh, not Lucas Labrie. Leandro Lowe was in it.
Lowe was in it as well. Yep. So you had more than half of your card drop off. And again, the guy, I don't have any problem with who they replaced it with.
No.
Everyone they replaced it with
card
was dope.
Amazing.
But it was just like, you announced the Super 4 out. You had it a month, like 33 days, or 34, I think 33 days in front of ADCC.
Right.
Which is like, guys don't want to get injured. That's why Yuri's out. That's why Gordon's out. That's why like a bunch of guys that would be in this are out.
Yeah.
And then you have a 2 hour break. You have a 20-minute intermission.
So like,
it's 7 matches. It's 7 matches, Emil.
As a streaming event, I could sit down with anybody and I would happily sit down and watch the event as it was streamed and say this is a bad product. There's no way around.
It was unwatchable live.
Right.
That was the thing. It's like you had to literally...
It was more dead air than
you had to
action.
literally leave and then come back to watch the final match.
Right.
A 10-minute match, which was like... I didn't watch it live.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I had things to do. I was like, okay, I didn't plan to
as
come
you
back.
said, it would have been better, you know, the next day or something like that.
Yeah, even then, I talked about this before the recording. Like, even if you do like just the finals match like the next day, then it's like, cool, I can tune in like tomorrow. Like, it's weird, but it's like having a 2 hour break was just like, okay, it's 7 matches. Yeah. I didn't anticipate this being, 4 hours long.
Yeah,
like
it was probably an hour and a half of jiu-jitsu and then 2.5 hours of...
Well, all of them went the time limit. Yeah. So we had 4 plus the 2 plus the 7. So, 70 minutes of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Plus walk-ons, walk-offs, the thing. It was just... I don't know. I'm baffled how this event ran from a production standpoint.
And, if it was just an event in isolation, it would be one thing, but there was $40,000 first prize and a $10,000 second prize.
$50,000 paid out to competitors.
Like, what? Like, what were you trying to achieve, right? Like, I don't know what the product was supposed to be.
It was super weird. Like, it was probably the strangest thing I've seen in jiu-jitsu this year.
Yeah.
And I can't even wrap my head around what the thought process, like, who was this for?
Right.
Like, was it for the athletes? There's a 2-hour break there. That's kind of weird. Was it for the guys at the venue? There's a 2-hour break. That's kind of weird. Was it for the streaming? There's a 2-hour break. That's kind of weird. Like, I don't get who they were targeting this event for. Like, I don't understand that. And that's the strangest thing, because, like, we watch all of the events, Emil.
Yeah.
And then I can always figure out, like, okay, maybe they missed the mark here, or it's like there was an issue here. But for this one, it was just, I can't figure out what they were thinking.
This would have been, if this had been, 3 or 4 months separated from ADCC and run as its own event with, like, nice production quality.
Yeah.
A little bit of fanfare. This would have been a marquee
if they
event.
did this like King of Mats.
Yeah.
Like IBJJF does it.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
or even Fight to Win. Like, Fight to Win would have been
that would have been awesome. Dude, I can't imagine this Fight to Win. That would have been amazing.
Yeah, dude.
Like, they wanted like a subversive or something. That would have been awesome.
Yeah. Like, music, walkouts, like fog machines, lights. That original lineup was just amazing. And we got a good card out of it.
Yeah.
But we could have had that as a standalone event. So I don't know what the timing was. Hopefully, like, the format gets, like, thought about a little bit and we have something different. But yeah,
I agree.
As a streaming event, it was not fun. So
yeah, that's bad. I have nothing else to add.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, that does it. So let's move into the recap of episode 2 of the Shugyo Invitational. Emil, this is the first time that you've actually got
This is the first episode that I've seen of Shugyo. It's incredible. It is, like, particularly with how you and I watch jiu-jitsu and consume jiu-jitsu, it's the perfect, absolute perfect kind of all-encompass package of what I want. So, just to recap, the way that they did it was they basically ran a small tournament with some incredible grapplers, and they kept all of the results and everything, like, hush-hush.
I still don't know.
We don't know. We have no idea what the results are.
Episode 2 has come out today on Monday.
And they basically then it was a no time limit submission only.
Yep.
And they basically filmed it, obviously, and then it allowed them to really produce the shit out of it. So
because it's no time sub only, like, the matches can go like 3 hours long, but they cut it down. So each episode, and it's a whole, like, cinematic episode. You watch, like, behind the scenes stuff they got coming there, and
they interview. They do, like, ask really good questions of the competitors,
and then you watch the match, and they cut out all of the stuff you don't want to see from the matches, but they leave it sequential, and then you get to watch the match progress.
Incidentally, the matches that we saw this week are only a couple, like, or not a couple, but they are like 8 to 14 minutes. I think
Ethan's match was like a little over 14 minutes, and I think Krikorian's match was about almost a little 14, and Ethan's match was a little
8,
almost 9.
Yeah. And so, they're really not actually cutting that much out.
No,
but it's very well paced.
Week 1, the match was like 5 minutes and 2 minute and a half. So, like, they're not cut. You're seeing you're seeing everything I want to see from the match. I'm seeing.
So it's more than a highlight reel, but it's very well produced, multiple angles, interesting lighting, actually visual effects. There's music that they play along with it.
I'm a big fan of, like, that style of music. I love that, like, hip hop, like, deep grunge. It's legit. So let's talk about that. So that's production side. If you're not watching this event, if you're not subscribed to Shugyo on the YouTube page and Grappling on YouTube, subscribe.
And it's so good that you could probably show this to someone who doesn't watch grappling, because it's exactly what
we watched the episode again before we recorded this segment just now.
It's so good,
and we was like, this is really good. And then a couple days after, I think on Monday the episode's out, and then on Wednesday they dropped, like, the full matches. So if you want to watch the unedited matches, so, like, the full time limit, they're up there as well. So first matchup.
Yep, Keith Krikorian versus Max Rochkov. And this match was phenomenal. Max brought it to Keith so hard.
Oh, yeah, and Keith talked about it in his interview. Afterwards
matches was really fascinating. So let's talk about the actual match right now. Max had incredible takedowns in passing.
Oh, yeah.
And gets
out Krikorian's guard at least 3 times.
Yeah, and flattens him out in side control.
But it's funny. I was thinking about this. So he's flattened out, and you see Keith working, working. But it's no time limit.
Yeah.
If the guy's not subbing you, I can sit in side control. If I'm not getting gassed out because you're putting a ton of pressure.
That's a big if.
Oh, it's an if. But do I conserve my energy and rest if we're both resting in side control? I can sit there for 5 minutes, and it's not that big of an issue in no time with sub only.
Right.
So you see Keith addressing it, but not actually bumping and moving, trying to stop the points, because he's just look, I'll be here, and then when I get an opportunity to move, I will move then. And it's oh, interesting. I'm happy I didn't have to watch it as a live viewer, but on the the way that Shugyo does it was awesome to watch, because you saw the meta come together in 2 minutes of this 15-minute match.
Right.
It was awesome.
And then you see there were moments where Keith would sort of bring it to Max, but Max's control and balance was and timing
was 2 nice heel hook entries. He had some nice inversion guard he was playing.
Keith did?
Yeah,
he did. But Max, you could tell, was his
playing
pacing,
a pressure game.
His pacing, not just grindy pressure, fast pressure.
Yeah.
The scary kind of
wrestler pressure.
Yeah, which is funny because we saw this, and I don't know much about Max. I know a lot about Keith.
I do now, though.
I do now,
I watch this guy.
We watched the after match interviews, and you could see Max, just the way he presented, the way he talked confidently, even though he lost and was submitted, he has the air, not only the pacing of a wrestler, the air of a wrestler, and then, of course, he's he actually talks about how stylistically different going up against a jiu-jitsu guy is versus a wrestling guy.
Okay,
and
so
you're
funny thing
okay,
is,
he's a wrestler, yep.
Keith used to be a wrestler. Krikorian has a wrestling base. He incorporates, when he wants to, a pretty decent amount of wrestling. I think that's underplayed here. Everyone kind of thinks that Keith's a 10-planet guy. It's he's actually got some pretty decent wrestling and control in wrestling. He actually was a wrestler before getting 100%. Jiu-jitsu.
It's more that wrestling mentality.
We talked about the mentality. He was I need to be attacking more.
Not I need percentage. To. I was attacking more.
Well, and then he said, as I get more experience in jiu-jitsu, he goes, my percentage of time on offense and attacking will increase, and that will help me in the future.
It wasn't that his argument wasn't that his attack rate will go up. He's my attack rate is high. It's a lot higher than Keith's, which is true. And he was as my skill goes up, the person that attacks more will win.
Okay.
That's what his argument was, which the logic makes sense. He says it confidently. Now, whether or not skill-wise you can catch up to someone like Keith, that's a totally different thing, because Keith is going to be developing as well.
His passing looked amazing. He was
his passing was excellent.
From a points perspective, I think he was probably up on
He even
points.
said it. He was positionally, I dominated that, and he did. And not in a bullshit he was on top and passing, whatever. He got to side control 3 times, I think. But
it was a really good
here's
match.
What happened. Keith, it was so sneaky with this. He basically, when they were on a scramble, he gets the grip for kind of an arm in.
A chest on back, arm in guillotine. And he talks about it. And it was cool to hear him actually talk about how he was setting up. If you like our show, go back and watch this match and listen to Keith break down exactly what he did and why he did it, because it made me giddy to hear him talk. I was oh man, this is the exact kind of analysis that I want. It was I get to this, I do this, then, and they edited it with the match footage of what he was doing while he was talking about it. Then the guy comes here, and then I changed the angle. I usually change up like this, but because he did this, so I rolled him over.
It's the analysis of an actual competitor, high quality competitor,
what were you
world
doing
class
here?
Competitor who's talking exactly about technique and tactics, right? There's some broad strategy things that I can see. I can't see tactics at all. just don't have that skill set to see tactically what they're doing. Like, and even a skilled black belt sometimes can't see what another skilled black belt is necessarily trying to. They can a lot of the times, especially if they're skilled. But like, it was awesome to hear that, and it was awesome to hear Max's thoughts on it, and you can see just the two completely different mentalities in grappling, which is beautiful. It's awesome to see that.
So Keith finishes him with a darce, beautiful darce, and basically rolls him over and then is able to like tech up onto the top with the darce and finishes like a mounted darce, and it was dope. We've seen Keith finish her before, but it was really cool to see Keith get that victory in that way because it was super highlight, really. So next match, we had Ethan Crelinsten defeating Josh Balco via Bacalao via getting that face.
Yeah. Holy shit, Ethan is... I love watching Ethan grapple.
Yeah.
I mean, like... And hearing him talk was really great, too, because he...
Confident,
didn't look winded at all. Like,
at the beginning of the interview, he looked a little winded.
Nah, at all. Right. He looked like he'd done some, like, light sparring or something.
It was cool to hear him talk about some of the positional exchanges with the legs and talk about like how comfortable he is in those legs.
It was really great because they started off asking Josh how the match went, and Josh was really humble and like I think had very earnest kind of like breakdown of what happened, and was also, it was true where he said, well, I knew that Ethan was a great leg locker, so I didn't expect to be engaging with him on those, but it kept presenting himself for leg attacks, so I did it, and Josh did an excellent job at attacking it, and then it cuts to Ethan talking about like, yeah, the way I attack the backs, like, it leaves me open for this particular leg entry, but I get put in that hundreds of times a week at Henzo's and
hundreds of times a week at TriStar and at Henzo's, and I was like,
he was like, whoa. So it's fine, which is just like, yeah, So
I appreciate the confidence.
It's funny to see that back and forth. I mean, I see what he's saying, and there are definitely.
It's like a dude attacking a guillotine on me. It's like I am there so often with when I put guys there and where I put my head. Like, unless you're really good at that, like you're probably not going to get me with that because I'm super confident in that one position. Ethan's confident in this type of entry in this thing. It was really cool.
Right.
And then he talks about like, but beautiful sequence to the back.
Oh my.
In like kind of like not even like a scramble, but like control. And then Ethan does the thing I fucking love guys to do is when he pummels his legs, he pummels them super high and he traps the arms and he like kicks you in the chest with it as he does it, and then he's like pulling the arms down with his feet as he's doing it, so then you're trying to fight the hands out and he's already across the neck and the face, and Josh's face is like bleeding a little bit, and he gets the choke in as he does in transition and then squeezes, and Josh's mouth is still open with his tongue out, and Ethan's able to get the tap. The finishing sequence here was ludicrous.
It was beautiful. I'm so looking forward to the next episodes. Definitely tune into Shugyo. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. It's great. It's phenomenal because you can go to YouTube, you sit down. If you want to watch it over a morning cup of coffee, you do that. If you want to grab a beer at night, you do that. It's great. I think it's such a great way to deliver an event.
Yeah, I totally agree. So that is for episode 2. So also this weekend, Ace Submission Grappling had an event. Their videos are coming out on their Facebook page. I think they're going to start getting more videos up on the YouTube page in the next couple of days, but I know they're up on Facebook now as time of this recording, Monday, August 26th. Owen O'Flanagan, some other people had some really fun matches on the card. Highly recommend that you go back if you're interested in that card. It's a nice UK event. Go back and watch it. So on to our preview of Polaris 11. This event takes place on August 31st in Bridgewater Hall, Manchester, UK. This event is main evented by Fionn Davies versus Talita Alencar in a ladies under 55 kilogram no-gi bout. This is a lot of fun. Fionn Davies has been on a tear recently, and Alencar has also looked really good. I want to say they've met each other before, but I don't know.
I'm sure they have. I feel like
Emil with the statement. I'm sure they have.
Well, it's just. You have high-level women grapplers, I feel like...
That pool is relatively small.
Exactly.
Typically, if you're active in competing in a similar weight class, like
especially across all the belt levels and stuff. Fionn, again, on a complete tear. I think at one point she was looking to Grand Slam, but did not execute on that.
I think she did. She missed one of them, but I think did she no-gi Grand Slam? I don't know. I forget, but she almost Grand Slam this last year. Person to watch. We saw her submit Gazeri Matuda, I think at the last one, in a really, really exciting back and forth match that I thought she was going to get got because Matuda knocked out something at the beginning. Really exciting. Alan Carr's a lot of fun to watch too. Tends to come out super aggressively at the beginning, so that paired to Theon's style, I think should be super exciting.
It's going to be fireworks,
I want to say that the winner of this will probably be eligible for a belt. I want to say it wouldn't surprise me to see an under 55 title for Polaris for one of these two ladies, whoever wins this next matchup. So next matchup, anything else on that one?
Mm-mm.
We got Edwin Najmi taking on Mancher Kara. We just saw Mancher at Kinetic. Or Kinetic, or whatever it was called, versus Lachlan Giles, and got heel hook. So actually, funny enough, Edwin was also on Kinetic, but didn't get to go. So we could have actually seen this matchup a little bit ago on Kinetic, and we didn't. So this will be a lot of fun. Mancher, we've finally seen him kind of, looks like he's getting more active back into the super fight scene.
We're starting to see him a lot more.
Mm-hmm. And Edwin has, I think he's ADCC bound, coming up soon. So this is a lot of fun. Edwin's looked really, really good recently. I think we saw him on... it's going to kill me. I should have had his BJJ Heroes page up.
I could have sworn he was on Fight to Win recently.
He was on... Yes. Yeah, he was versus Dorino?
I can't remember.
I don't know. Josh was talking about he was SpongeBob. He talked about the entire time. That's all I can remember. That
Every time.
On that entire episode, all I remember is Josh explaining the SpongeBob story again. So that should be a lot of fun. Again, I kind of favor Najmi in this matchup just based on what we've seen from Kara recently. Kara, was very good, but Najmi, I think, is prepping for ADCC hard.
I think it's a push. I can't pick one or the other right now, so I could see it going either way.
Next match, we have Paddy Pimblett versus Steve Ray. I think Paddy is still the Cage Warriors champion at 55. He might have gotten beat and lost that. I think he had a rough go there for a little bit, but I forget if he's the current champion. But again, known for grappling, those exciting flash subs and flying shit. So it'll be cool to see him
super entertaining.
Yeah, in a grappling match. I'm not too familiar with Steve Ray, and that's probably because I'm just blanking on it right now. Anything else on that?
Nope.
Next match, we have Marcos Tinoco versus Tommy Langacker.
Yeah, these are two marquee names that we see all the time. Especially in Europe, we see Tommy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
dude, Tommy's looked real good. Somebody who said it best. It was about Langacker's game, and it was Langacker's a dude that can pull a rabbit out of his hat at any time in a matchup.
Mm-hmm.
That dude can go from losing a matchup to just submit you, and you're like, how did you do that? And I think with Tinoco, Tinoco is another really dominant
grindy,
grindy kind of dude, and so this honestly, I think this is this is the gi. This is a low-key, really fun match because both these guys are guys that kind of really bring a pace in action, and I'm happy it's in the gi because I think both these guys shine in the gi.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it'll be really cool.
Certainly, I've seen more of Tommy in the gi. So
yeah, I have no idea how to pick this one either. I wish I actually had.
I mean, if you don't have a strong inclination, you don't have to pick one. Yeah.
No, well, I'm actually legitimately curious about this matchup because it's it should be a really fun matchup.
Yep.
So next match we have Satoshi Ishii versus Arya Esfandmaz.
And by the way, if the matches are not clear, that's good matchmaking, right?
Oh yeah.
I know you love a squash match,
this
but
match get blown up. No, this is I like where I'm ooh, this is a fun. I like matches where in my head I'm that guy's gonna any match versus Gordon Ryan, unless you're a select few group of guys, it's Gordon Ryan's gonna crush this guy. But these are actually really, really good matchups.
Yeah.
And so because I don't right off my head just go oh, that guy's gonna crush this guy.
So we have Satoshi Ishii versus Arya Esfandmaz.
He's the guy that won I think the ADCC trials in Europe, and I believe either was just announced as out or had a visa issue or might still be in ADCC. I don't remember, but I think that's the guy. So this should be a really, really fun matchup. We've seen Satoshi have definitely some slower matches on the feet, but that dude has some good no-gi judo that we've seen him implement before. So
absolutely,
I could honestly see this one going either way. It's a catch weight at 110 kilograms no-gi. Next match, we have Ben Dyson versus Nick Rodriguez.
Yeah, it's funny how much we're starting to see him
dude everywhere. But Nick Rodriguez, I think, is the poster child for the kind of guy I want to see in submission grappling because he is young, he's athletic, he's exciting, he pushes a pace, and he's taking it seriously, and he's on everything he can get on.
Yeah.
And it's like, it almost like, what, every other weekend, every third weekend, we see him on a super fight.
All the time.
And that makes me like, if you want to be a professional grappler, you have to be competing and be competing frequently.
This is one of the reasons why, like, for example, like Wagner Rocha is so amazing, right? Like, I remember you and Josh were like joking about it, but then serious, like being like,
Mr. Competition.
Every single week you guys brought his name up.
We brought him. There was a time period. I want to say it was like almost like two and a half months or something.
It was something.
Where either we were breaking down a match of his, we were previewing a matchup.
Yep.
So he never had a gap of more than a week between matches. And it was a bunch of times. So he was like this like week, where it was like, okay, Wagner.
So it's great to see Nick in the same.
Yeah, because he's active. And like, you're getting to watch a guy. For me, as like an analyst, it's really exciting because you get to watch a guy develop his game in real time.
You get to see him in different positions too, and different matchups.
Give him different things. And Ben Dyson is no joke. He's a dude that can really bring it to Nick.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is not necessarily just a matchup that Nick is going to walk through.
Yeah.
I think Ben's going to be able to test him in really specific ways, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So next match, we have Chris Fishgold versus Liam Can. I think Chris has a couple highlights on Polaris. I forget exactly. He's been on a bunch of Polaris cards, but he's a lot of fun to watch. And then next match on the undercard, we have Jed Hugh versus Natasha Georgian. I forget. I think Natasha won the Polaris qualifier spot.
Nastasa, I think, is his name.
One more time.
Nastasa.
What was it saying?
Natasha.
Why am I reading the names?
Okay.
That's on you, Emil.
Nastasa Georgian.
I think he's the guy that we saw win the Polaris trial spot for the qualifier. So super excited to see him featured there on the undercard, basically winning his spot. I love promotions that do that because I like that it gives everyone their ability to win an invitation spot. Like, cool, you didn't get the invite, you won your spot.
Right.
If you want to go in, here's your avenue in there to say that, like, I can get in.
As opposed to just being like arbitrary invitations only. So
right. I like the promotions like, hey, most of them are invitations because they're guys we want to see, that showcase stuff we want to see. But here's the route. If you think you're good enough, get the invitation. Win the invitation.
I would love to see like qualifying, because like.
Well, that's what he won, basically.
No, I know, but I mean like all entrants, like.
Oh, like ADCC does it?
Exactly.
Except, yeah.
You need to build up a giant circuit for that.
Which is tough.
Yeah, but I think certainly for events like Polaris, it's awesome.
It builds a fun narrative, but I'm happy to see that they have some. They're bringing guys in through that route where it's like you won your spot, you earned your spot on the preliminary card.
So next up we have Lloyd Cooper versus Matty Holmes.
We have Tommy Pulkenin versus Marcus Flane.
We have Adam Adshade versus Enrique Villasnor.
Man, these European names always kind of tend to crush us hard.
Yep. Sean McDonough versus Tarek Hopstock. We have Kristen Mickelson versus Jas Wilson. We have Kieran Davern versus Fred Greenall. Chris Walsh versus Nathan Jones.
So that does it for Polaris. Looks like a real fun card. I'm super excited. I'm a big ass fan of Polaris because they put on some fun matchups that are awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else, Emil?
That's it.
That does it for Polaris. So on to our preview of Fight to Win 123 in Sacramento, California. I heard myself in my headphones and it completely threw me off. Happening on August 30th. Kickoff time is 8 p.m.
Pacific.
East Coast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they actually do the thing on Flow Grappling, so I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
8 p.m. Pacific would be a huge late start time.
I was about to say.
So it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of fun names on this card. This card is laid out a little differently, so we don't have the black belts or the weights for the matchups, but we have a lot of guys that I'm super interested in talking about, so let's talk about it. The main eventing, we have Dante Leon versus Gabriel Arges.
Dude, Dante Leon, I've talked about him plenty. He's one of my favorite grapplers to watch. He's super entertaining. And very versatile.
He's got a good takedown game. He's got a good bottom game. He's got a
good guard. Yeah,
we've seen him submit guys off his back. We've seen him submit guys on the bottom, on the top. We've seen him outpoint guys in wrestling. We've seen him versus Canuto. He brings action and pace, and he can go the entirety of the match at that pace.
Yep.
He also gave a really interesting interview. I want to say it was on Grappling Central podcast recently that I had a big fan. I've talked about his upbringing and how he's not a wrestler, but everyone just thinks he's a wrestler because he's built like a wrestler. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I thought he was a wrestler.
Yeah.
And it just made me laugh. I was like, oh yeah, I had that inclination and thought about him. He talked about moving from Canada. Really cool. Gabriel Arges, another dope ass grappler that's I think really going to test Dante here.
Yeah.
And it'll be fun. We've seen him.
Gabriel Arges a lot in Fight to Win. So
you saw him versus Craig Jones in Grapplefest too. Yeah, this is a matchup. This is deservedly I would honestly kind of be surprised if it's not Fight of the Night.
Yeah. I also see that happening.
Yeah, deserves to main event the event. Next one, we have Angel Lopez versus Cassio Werneck. We have Jose Carlos Lima versus Samir Chantre. That is a sleeper match. It's going to be really good.
That'll be awesome,
We have
too.
Mark de la Cruz versus Derek
Damano.
We have Max Jimenez versus Felipe Becerra. That's actually fun. We have Patrick Fernandez versus Robert Parks. We have Adam Dunkel versus Luis Moreno. We have Leo Silva versus Bruno Bittencourt. We have Dom Hoskins versus Robson Rodriguez. Dude, eventually Dom and Troy are going to fight.
Yeah.
Like, both those guys have over 20 fight-to-win appearances. And they're getting closer, man. Like, I just love seeing them. They're actually both on this card. We have Vince Barbosa versus Daniel Werther. We have Rich Flores versus Troy Everett. For once, Troy's not stepping in as a late replacement. He actually has a matchup.
That's right.
So, dude, they're one match apart. It wouldn't surprise me if these guys go against each other soon. Like, I want to see it. Like, the veterans of fight. Dude, Fight to Win has run 120 events. Both of those guys have 20-plus appearances.
Yeah.
So,
It's like
one out of 5.
6.
1 out of 5.
Yeah.
Yes, 6. Because math. 6. I'm not good at math, Emil. 1 out of 6, these guys are appearing on Fight to Win. Like, that's pretty good. That's almost like once every month and a half.
Yeah.
Like, literally within every 2 months, you're appearing on Fight to Win. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Let's see. We have Brandon Alexander versus Damian Wright. We have Brooke Meow versus Joy Pendle. Ooh,
Maia,
that'll be a fun ass matchup. Pendle just got brown not too long ago, but super exciting, fun grappler to watch.
Jaden Muller versus Stacy Councilman. Fabricio Silva versus Michael Mallet. Jacob Severin versus Ian Johnson. Trinidad Bautista versus Sean Joseph. And Dan Dykeman versus Andrew Cheshmore.
Dude, Dan brings that action.
That's right.
This is a jiu-jitsu. I think this is a jiu-jitsu match, not a judo match.
It's a jiu-jitsu match, and hopefully, he's had some warning, as opposed to doing a last-minute judo match. It was still entertaining.
He's still going to jump out and throw a flying triangle or a flying scissor
Hell
takedown.
Yeah.
That's the first thing he does in every matchup. And it's just all right, Dan, you do you.
Yeah.
And, dude, he's super exciting. He's a guy that I think probably more than almost any other guy embodies the Fight to Win rule set, which is
go out and have fun.
Go out, have fun.
Yeah.
Push ridiculous action and try to sub from everywhere.
Yep.
And it's cool. Troy does it a lot too. But Dan, I feel like Troy goes out there and tries to play his game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan goes out there and tries to I'm just gonna try to kill you.
Yep.
And it's oh fuck yeah. Gamesmanship.
Yep.
So big fan of both those guys. Big fan of everyone on the card. Big fan of guys from Team Sleep getting actual matchups on the card. Anything else on this one? There's a bunch of other guys that are on the card that are super fun. Albert Toppy is on this card. All the way through. I don't have the black belts and the brown belts, everything lined up this week. So I don't want to read through just the rest of the names and just be reading names because that's super not friendly for the audio listeners and honestly with the video listeners too. So that's all I got. Anything else?
That's it.
On to the next one. So Fuji is also running a super fight in Philadelphia, I think this weekend as well, on August 31st. So I'm not sure where it's streamed or if it is streamed, but it looks like there's some fun matches that we've seen up from different guys on it. So tune into that if you're able to find out where it's streamed. So let's do the outro now.
Yeah.
So what are you going on this week?
So I just got back from Puerto Rico, which was amazing. Visiting family out there and hanging out with family. So
Sweet.
It was an actual vacation, the kind where
That's
you unplug
awesome.
and you're ready to come home.
My next ADC. My next vacation is ADCC.
Hell yeah.
And I am not vacationing. I'm buying a bunch of new equipment. I'm looking at buying cameras and looking at buying mounts for all the backstage interview stuff we're doing. I'm trying to coordinate interviews for ADCC. We're talking about okay, who do we want to interview on the show? Who do I want to interview backstage? Who do I want to interview after weigh-ins? And I'm oh God, there is so much to do. And I'm talking with all the guys on the team and you and hey, who do you want on the show? Because I think for the show for ADCC, I think I might try to get guys in to our place where we're actually recording in the evening to have a guest on during those. I'm not sure if we do that or do a partial guest or something like that. I don't know what we're doing yet. We're still kind of by the seat of the pants, but we should have be able to get 4 mics out there, which would be me, you, potentially some of the guys we're staying with, and then potentially an ADCC person or a commentator. We're playing with a lot of different stuff, but hopefully I'm going to have some interviews. We don't do a ton of interviews, but I might like to talk about ADCC with someone on ADCC on the show.
Pick their brains.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to hear
high-level guys talk about high-level stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's my vacation prep and planning of just it's not relaxing at all.
No, but it's going to be super fun.
Dude, it's going to be awesome. So when you find out?
I think Thursday night.
Okay, cool.
Or Thursday during the day. So.
Okay. Sweet, dude. That should be so much fun. That's coming. That's upon us.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
Yeah.
So last week on the show, if you didn't notice, the audio, it was a little weird. Last week's edit was a nightmare for the podcast because the video and the audio recorded at different clock speeds. So I had to go and retime every single section of video to match up with the audio.
Oof.
And I'm really hoping. Oh, also there's a whole computer issue with like the Mac updated. And then the thing I recorded on the phone was no longer compatible with the codec that the Mac could read.
Amazing.
So I had to airdrop it to Rachel's computer, convert it on her computer, then airdrop it over to my computer that could read it now, and then edit it from there. And it was still out of time. So it was a nightmare. I was up till probably almost 1:30 or 2:30 on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday recording the show. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday doing the show and doing all the edits.
Ugh.
It was a nightmare. So hopefully this week it turns out a lot better. But if I could get more sleep this week, that would be much, much better because last week's edit was just atrocious. So what else you got, Emil? Anything else?
That's it.
That does it. So as always, I'm your host, Maine on the Grappling Rewind.
I'm your co-host, Emil, on the Grappling Rewind.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats. I don't know why I did it like that. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.